Welcome back, everyone. Give me 1 second for Instagram. Okay. All right. Well, welcome back. If you were watching earlier, we apparently had a technology malfunction. Um, I this microphone, if I tap it, it mutes me. So not touching the microphone. We're just gonna kind of cut to the chase here, since I wasn't sure at what point I hit the mute in the video. So we're just gonna restart it, but kind of power through here. So very excited about this case today. It's about a client who's a native and citizen of India who entered originally on an H-1B visa. And this is for the type of visa petition is for a person of extraordinary ability, or known as an EB-1 visa. They're extremely hard to get. They're meant for only the best of the best, the top of the field. So let's look quickly at some of the EB-1 requirements. You either need to have won an internationally recognized award, such as the Nobel Peace Prize or an Olympic gold medal, or you have to meet 3 out of 10 eligibility categories. And we will get to those categories, some of those categories shortly. Even if you prove that you meet 3 of the 10 categories, there's still a final merits determination where basically USCIS will determine, are you in the top 1% of your field? You can have an employer file for an EB-1 for you, or you can self-petition. If you self-petition, you do not have to have a job offer. However, you do need to prove that you're going to continue in your field of endeavor. And finally, you have to show that your work will substantially benefit the US. So this client, his field of endeavor was machine learning research engineer and generative AI with a focus on media integrity and combating misinformation. I love doing EB-1s and O-1s, which are the non-immigrant visa equivalent of immigrant visas, because I get to learn about very interesting work that people do and different professions. And this was no exception. This client had this rare combination of not just being an engineer, but being a researcher, which is very rare to find. So he would do the groundbreaking research on machine learning, and then he was able to build the tools to help combat problems that arose from machine learning, because he had, additional insight thanks to his research. This application was over 600 pages, and it was done through premium processing. So we filed this at the very beginning of February, and it was granted without a request for evidence. So within 15 business days, which was fantastic. Anyone wondering what kind of education you need to get an EB-1? Well, it depends, of course. In this case, this client only has a bachelor's degree. He did not have a master's or a PhD, but he was still well qualified. So just because you have a bachelor's degree does not mean that you are not eligible for an EB-1. Ultimately, we were able to prove that he met 4 of the 10 eligibility requirements. So let's look at those. So I'm not going to go through all 10 today, but I'm going to go through the ones that we proved for this client. So first, we were able to show that he had a high salary in comparison to people in his field. The way we do that is we look at promotions. He had a lot of promotions since he started with his employer in 2016. He was promoted at a faster track than most. And we were able to show since 2019, which is as far back as I could get the wage reports from the Department of Labor, he made not just more than 90% of the earners in his profession. Many years he earned 2 times more than what the top 90% of earners in his profession. The type of evidence we used to show this were his W-2s for each year and the Department of Labor wage reports. So this was the easiest category to prove because his salary was so much higher. The second category that we proved was the original scientific or business related contributions of major significance to the field. First and foremost, this client has a patent and and an accompanying publication, and the accompanying publication had close to 200 citations. The patent itself was cited by over 40 other patents, meaning they were using his work to build off of it. But a patent itself is not going to necessarily satisfy the criteria to meet this eligibility requirement. You need to prove the significance of the patent. So that's why I discussed the fact that it was cited so many times by other people who got patents. Other evidence we used letters from experts in the field. Some of these experts knew him personally, some worked with him, and some only knew him from his work, that they had seen him present at conferences, for example. So we kind of got a little mix of everybody when it came to the experts in the field. We also showed proof that he was asked to speak at some prestigious conferences. And we also had a lot of articles about his work to show that there was widespread media coverage, specifically about some of the tools that he's built. And if you're familiar with EB-1s and O-1s, you might know there's a category that you can prove that's about published materials about you and your work. We did not attempt to prove that category here because that category is very specific, that the articles have to be primarily about you. And these articles didn't even mention him. It just mentioned what he built. So it's okay if you built it on a team, but it still has to be primarily about you. So we didn't feel that was a strong category, but we didn't need it. That was the good news. The next category, so we're up to category number 3, that we proved was the authorship of scholarly articles. He had 6 publications with close to 400 citations. All but one of these publications were presented at conferences, and they I think, oh yeah, and all but one of them were in academic journals. Now, 400 citations might not seem like a lot for 6 publications, and in certain fields it will not be a lot. And this is, again, some of the little quirks with EB-1s that you run into when you're looking at different fields. If this were, say, academia or more of a strictly research type of job, then you may expect to see more citations because the field itself has all those citations. But engineers do not really cite. Engineers might use your work to help them build a tool, but they're not using your work to write or to do additional research and then citing it. So the fact that he had so many citations for his work was really significant. And again, the way that we do this, you're not going to find that fact online, is through expert letters to attest to that fact. So the other types of evidence we used were, we submitted the publications themselves. We submitted the Google Scholar citation counts. And we also submitted the conference rankings, and not just the conference rankings, but how these conferences choose who's going to present and what papers are going to be reviewed. Conferences might not matter in certain fields. They might not even exist in certain fields. However, this is key in this machine learning field because it's the primary vehicle for the dissemination of information and the open discussion of the leading research in the field. So the fact that he was presenting at these top conferences was really a key fact. And then the fourth category that we proved, and hopefully, looks like I'm still green, I haven't pressed mute again, is Performance in a leading or critical role in a distinguished organization. He has worked for one of the top companies in the world since 2016. I cannot say the company's name, but I guarantee 99.9% of you watching would know this company if I said it. Um, the way, even though it is that well known around the world, this company, we still have to prove how that it's a distinguished company. So how do we do that? Well, one way we did it was with Forbes. Forbes does a lot of lists and rankings of companies for different reasons. And this company was ranked in many categories, so we put in that. We put in proof this was of the size of the company, that was publicly traded, and that its revenues were in the multi whatever billions and stuff. And then again, the expert letters from his coworkers really were key in proving this fact. But again, it would be nice and easy if I could have just said the company name, and USCIS would be like, "Oh yeah, I know that." But no, you still have to prove what this company is, and that it really has a distinguished reputation. So since we proved all four, or at least three, I should say, of the 10 categories, we also, of course, had to show that he's going to continue to work in his field of endeavor, and that it will be of substantial benefit to the United States. And the way we do this is with a personal statement about what his plans are. As I stated, we don't need a particular job offer, but what we do need is that to show, I'm going to, whatever you're going to do, whether open a company, want to have more freedom, want to go back to school, get a PhD, whatever it is that you are looking to do. In this case, this client plans to stay where he is right now, but he wants to have options open, because when you're on an H-1B, you can't just change employers so easily. And if you lose your job, you might have to leave the country. So this allows him now to file for a green card. And an H-1B is also a type of visa where you could possibly lead to a green card if your employer sponsors you. But if anyone is familiar with the visa bulletin and wait times, if you are from India, you are waiting minimum 10 years. So, this is kind of, because if you're a person of extraordinary ability, you essentially get to cut the line. And that's what happened here. We always have certain challenges when we're doing these types of visa petitions. One of the biggest challenges is, how do we define the field of expertise? Because the petitioner gets to define the field of expertise, whoever's submitting it. And, even this client, we went back and forth. We didn't make the decision right away, because if you define it too broadly, then you're being compared to a huge pool, and even though you might be, one of the best, you might not be the top 1%. If you define it too narrowly, USCIS might not buy that it's an actual field. So you can't make up a field, but you want to make sure it's clear, like this is what I do, and be specific, as specific as you can without being ridiculous. This case also presented some very unique challenges. Specifically, this client's employer is incredibly private, and everything is confidential. So although we did have outside evidence, such as the articles about his work, we weren't able to actually get metrics on performance of his tools, or how many people were using his tools. And it is a very high number of people that do use these things. People watching, you might not even know that you've been using the tools that my client created. Obviously, I can't say the name of those tools, but the way we got around that was we had to have people write letters. So his supervisors, coworkers, who were able to attest to that fact. And even though there actually there are numbers that exist to prove the usage and performance details, like internally with this company, and my client knew it, and some of the people writing the letters knew it, they still weren't allowed to put it in the letters. because of confidentiality provisions in their employment agreements. So that is always a unique, that not always. This was a unique challenge for this case. There's always unique challenges you run into with EB-1s because of how different they are from one another. Because everything depends on what the job is, and that's where you start. What's the job, and what kind of evidence can we get? So we had to work around that, and fortunately, we were able to. And like I said, what really made me happy today was to find out this was approved without USCIS sending requests for evidence. Another question I get a lot is that if you apply for premium processing, are you more likely to get a request for evidence, or is it do you always get a request for evidence when you do premium processing? Um, I've done these premium processing, non-premium processing. I don't think you necessarily always get one because you did premium processing. Here's an example where a client didn't. I didn't think I didn't think he should get one because we really covered all our bases. But it's USCIS; you never know. So I wouldn't discourage you from filing for premium processing because you're worried about a request for evidence. If you have everything ready to go and it's all explained properly, hopefully you can avoid that request for evidence. The next stop for this client is to file for his green card. We're going to be starting that process next week. We are very, very excited for him. He'll also be able to get a work permit and a travel document so that he can travel abroad and not abandon his green card application. So that is all for today. Don't forget to like us and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you are watching. If you like what you've seen, found this helpful, hit that share button, that save button, drop us a comment, let us know what you think. Anyone who saw the first iteration of this video and stuck around, I appreciate it. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but I hope that it was worth it, and you found this case to be interesting. Of course, if you're looking to apply for an EB-1, an O-1, or any immigration benefit, our contact information scrolling across. I think it's actually scrolling across the bottom of your screen. So give us a call, send us an email, and we'll be happy to help. That is all for today. Thank you for watching and have a good night.